Welcome back to the table. Last week we talked about breaking cycles, about what we inherited, about what we believed, about the pressure we carry without even realizing where it came from. We talked about self-doubt, about tying our worth to our performance, about deciding what finally stops with us. That conversation was heavy. This week is different. Still serious, still steady, but different. Today is March 18th. 8 years ago today, my wife and I got together. Eight years. And I've been thinking a lot about what that actually means. Not the highlight reel. Not the social media version. Not the filtered anniversary post version. But what 8 years of commitment has actually built in me. As a man. Before I get any further, I want to make something clear. I'm not here to explain my wife. I'm not here to share private details. I'm not here to dissect our relationship. This conversation is about what commitment has required of me. This is about what marriage has shaped in me as a man. And I want to say this clearly. I love and respect my wife deeply. She's my best friend. Not just because we've been together for 8 years, but because of the strength she carries. Because of the way she shows up. Not just for me, but for herself and for our kids. Because of what she handles that most people don't see. Marriage has built things in me that I honestly wouldn't have built on my own. It's exposed immaturity. It's exposed ego. It's exposed control. And it's forced me to grow. So today we're talking about that. What I thought marriage was in the beginning. What I had to unlearn. What steadiness actually looks like. Why respect is not conditional. And what it really means to choose someone 8 years later. So take a breath. settle in, and pull up a chair. When I met my wife, I was 25. She was 20. We were working together at a Taco Bell here in Round Rock, Texas. And I remember the first time I saw her. I had this thought immediately that I'm going to marry her one day. Now, the funny part is, I was told she was already in a relationship at the time. But something about her stuck with me. And at that time in my life, my world was pretty simple. I was working a lot, just focused on the job. I was living with my little brother and his family. Mentally, I was in a pretty good place. Financially, I was all right. Not great, but stable. And emotionally, I was just going with the flow of life. I wasn't really searching for anything. But sometimes life just puts someone in your path, and you just know. And that's what happened in this case. I didn't go searching for her. I honestly wasn't really looking for any type of relationship at the time. So when I met her and actually talked to her for the first time, I just knew that at that point, I was just going to be friends with her. Well, I mean, in a very short time, that blossomed into something more. She and I worked together so much that we were around each other so much, and it blossomed into a full-blown relationship. After she left her other guy. The truth is, when we started building a life together, I didn't actually know what a healthy long-term relationship looked like. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. And honestly, I don't remember much about their relationship. My dad remarried in 2006, right after I started high school. And I only really saw that marriage for about 4 years before I moved on with my own life. And 4 years isn't really enough time to understand what a healthy marriage looks like. So when I got into my own relationship, I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't know what long-term commitment really meant. And one of the biggest surprises for me was realizing how much work it took. And it's not bad work. It's intentional work. You have to protect the relationship. You have to protect your significant other. You have to maintain the love. Especially after having kids. You have to keep showing up. Because healthy relationships don't run on autopilot. They require effort. And it's not just from one person. There's always going to be somebody or something that tries to interfere with your relationship. You have to ensure that you're there putting the effort in to make sure that that foundation is strong enough to resist those types of problems. The hardest season that we've ever faced in our marriage was when our 3 children were taken from us by CPS. There really isn't a way to fully explain what that does to you. As a father, as a husband, and as a family. It shakes everything. And that season lasted a long time for us. It tested us in ways I never expected to be tested in. And during that time, my wife and I went through a temporary separation. She left for about 3 months. From the end of July 2023 until just before Thanksgiving. And during that time, I was alone. Not just physically, but emotionally too. I didn't have family nearby. I didn't have friends that I could lean on. My life during that season was simple. Work, sleep, repeat. That was it. And on the weekends, I had the kids. Which meant the only time I really saw them was during the hardest seasons of my life. Even after I hurt my back badly at work. There wasn't ever time to stop. Because when you're a father, life doesn't pause. You still show up. You still take care of your responsibilities. And I remember nights during that time. Well, really days for me because I was working nights. Where I would just lay in bed. Completely exhausted. And honestly, I cried myself to sleep a lot of those nights. Not because I was weak, but because I was carrying more than I had ever carried before. And there was nobody to help carry it. That kind of loneliness, it changes you. But it also teaches you something important. Sometimes the strongest thing a man does is keep going when nobody sees the struggle. And even after all that, we still managed to find our way back to each other. And moments like that force you to look at your life honestly. They force you to decide what commitment actually means. Because commitment is super easy when everything is going well. The real test comes when everything feels like it's falling apart. When the world feels like it's caving in on you. That season taught me a lot about myself. But there's something that came out of it that meant the most. It taught me that I'm resilient. And it taught me that I am a much more positive person than I realized. Even in the middle of all the chaos, I kept believing things would get better. And it's not just they might get better, they might not. I knew deep down in my heart that things were going to get better. That we were going to make it through this season. And it also taught me about commitment. Commitment is the thing that holds a relationship together when everything else is unstable. When emotions are high, when stress is overwhelming, when everything feels uncertain. Commitment is what keeps two people connected. Because real love isn't really proven in the easy seasons. It's proven during the hardest ones. And that's something that I definitely learned during this time. Because through everything that we went through, I woke up every day saying that I'm committed to my wife. I'm committed to my kids. And I'm committed to my family. And during that time, my wife and I grew closer. It was hard at first. We both had a lot of waking up to do and looking at ourselves, trying to figure out what we needed to do to change. But it taught me how resilient I am and how resilient she is. And that's something that sticks out to me the most for that season, because even my therapist at the time couldn't understand how I was still holding it all together when everything around me was falling apart. But marriage has changed me in a lot of ways. All of them good. One of the biggest ways is patience. When I first met my wife, I don't believe I was the patient person that I am today. But marriage forces you to grow. It forces you to slow down. It forces you to understand another person. And I've had to learn some important things. I've had to learn not to rely on everybody else the way that I used to. I've had to learn how to lean on myself and lean on my wife. I've also had to learn how to open up emotionally. To talk about what I'm feeling. And to be emotionally available for her. And that's the hardest thing that I've ever done. Because I was always taught just to hold it in, that nobody really cared about how I felt. And these are just things that a lot of men struggle with. I'm not any more special. I deal with it too. But growth is a part of commitment. And when we said I do to our significant others, we became committed. I wake up every day blessed that I have my wife by my side. There are some things in my life that wouldn't be the way they are if I didn't have her. Including a relationship with my mom. But that's a whole different story. And it's just, commitment to a relationship is just, it's hard to do sometimes. But at the same time, when you love somebody as much as I love my wife, it comes easy. I told her the other night that loving her is easy, and that's true. Loving her is easy, but she's the biggest pain in the ass in my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. One of the biggest things that I respect about my wife is how she carries herself. She has her own struggles, her own mental health battles, her own family issues. But she still shows up. She shows up for me. She shows up for our kids. And she's always had my back. Through everything. Through the good seasons. And even through the hardest ones. Especially through the hardest ones. And when I'm down, she lifts me up. She helps me heal the parts of my life that I didn't even realize need healing. That kind of loyalty matters. Because that loyalty shows that no matter what, she's going to be right there with me. She's going to be right by my side as I grow this podcast. She's going to be right by my side as I grow the brotherhood. She's the type of woman that even when I was down, she was still there. She's never turned away from me. And that's something that a lot of men don't have. I am very, very, very lucky to have my wife and everything that came with her. Which is why 8 years later, choosing her doesn't look like some grand gesture. It looks like small things. It looks like listening to her talk about her night at work at 7 o'clock in the morning after I've taken the kids to school. It's like holding her when she's overwhelmed. It looks like standing beside her when she's struggling with her family issues. It looks like showing up. Day after day. Year after year. Because that's what commitment really is. It's not perfection. It's presence. And 8 years later, I still choose her. And I'll continue to choose her. Because she continues to choose me. She continues to stay on my side. Through thick and thin. For better or for worse. So before we close today, I want to leave you with the question. For the men listening, when things get hard in your relationship, do you lean in? Or do you pull away? Because like I said earlier, commitment isn't tested when everything is going well. It's tested when things are difficult. It's tested when you're frustrated. It's tested when you feel misunderstood. So take a minute this week and ask yourself honestly, am I building my relationship or slowly withdrawing from it? Something we all need to remember is that marriage is going to test you. It will expose your weaknesses. It will force you to grow. But if you're willing to continue to choose each other, it can also build something incredibly strong. And when I look back at everything we've been through, the good seasons, the hard seasons, even the moments where it felt like everything was falling apart, I realized something. Love isn't proven when it's easy. It's proven when two people decide to keep coming back to each other. Even after the hurt, even after the mistakes, even after the loneliness. Because commitment isn't about perfection. It's about the decision to keep building. And 8 years later, I'm still here. Still learning. Still growing. And always still choosing her. If this conversation resonated with you today, follow the show. Share it with another man who might need it. If you want deeper conversations like this, the Roundtable Brotherhood is open. And if you want to support the show and hear bonus content, you can join us on Patreon. Because strong men don't build alone. They build together. Thanks for pulling up a chair. I'll see you next time at the Roundtable for Men.